Hi guys, I'm Kristen, and this is Kristen is Fully Booked. Today I'm going to be sharing with you all of the books currently on my radar. One of my goals for this year was to better prioritize books that I was actually really interested in. So not necessarily to follow a strict TBR, but to be a little bit more intentional about picking up the books that I'm genuinely interested in and prioritizing those books. So this has led me to, I started the Radar Reads videos last year, but I have been kind of making them more intentional in each season sort of so far this year. So I've been keeping track of books that have caught my eye, some ones that I am required to read in the coming months. And so this is sort of my what's currently on my radar? What are the books that I'm probably going to be prioritizing in the next couple months? It's like a very loose seasonal TBR. When I sat down to film this, I went to the sheet where I record all these books, and then I remembered a bunch of other things that I was interested in, and I'm already feeling overwhelmed about the amount of books that I have on this Radar Read. So I'm not going to say too much about each book. I'm almost feeling a little bit stressed about how many I have put on this list with my requirements and things like that. There's no way that I'm going to get to all of these, but there are options from which I will hopefully be choosing in the coming months. Okay, let's get into it. I'm going to start with a update on my priority series reads. There are a couple of my priority series that I'm going to be prioritizing either finishing completely or starting fresh in the next coming months. So far this year, I have started 3 of my priority series out of 11, and that is the Farseer series, the Natural History of Dragons, and Jade City or Jade. What's that series actually called? The Greenbone Saga. So in the next coming months, I'd actually like to finish the Greenbone Saga. I read Jade City and I really loved it, but I found it very stressful and a very intense emotional read. But in the next couple months, I would really like to just finish Jade War and Jade Legacy. So I'll be picking up the next 2 books in that series and hopefully completing that trilogy for an apparently devastating conclusion. I will also likely be finishing Farseer in the next couple months. I'm currently reading the second book, Royal Assassin. This is part of my Realm of the Elderlings buddy read with Maria from Tea Books Magic. So we're reading Royal Assassin right now. I'm absolutely loving it. And we're hoping to be able to pick up the 3rd and final book in Farseer, Assassin's Quest, during my Assassins in April Readathon, which if you want more details, I will link everything down below. So if I finish Royal Assassin and Assassin's Quest in the next couple months, as well as Jade War and Jade Legacy, then I will have finished in the entirety 2 of the 11 series that I wanted to prioritize starting this year. Oh, and of course I will be continuing on with the Memoirs of Lady Trent read-along that I'm doing with a few other channels. We started this, and this was one of my priority series, so we read A Natural History of Dragons in February. We read The Tropic of Serpents in March. Check out or join us for our live show. It is going to be on April 6th. I'm going to get really confused about all the times, so I'm going to base this out of the Eastern Standard Time, which I believe is going to be 9 p.m. on April 6th. So Wednesday night, and then you can make your way down 8 p.m., 7 p.m., 6 p.m. going across North America. It's going to be 3 a.m. my time where I am on Thursday morning, April 7th. But anyway, we're doing the live show Wednesday, April 6th at those times right here on my channel again. So check that out if you read The Tropic of Serpents or you want to hear our thoughts about it. And then, of course, in the next coming months, in April, we're going to be reading the next book of Voyage, or just Voyage of the Basilisk, and then continuing on with the series from there. And then there's one other priority series I would like to start in the next couple months, and that is going to be The Black Coast, which is the beginning of the God King Chronicles by Mike Brooks. And this is because the 3rd and final book in this trilogy is coming out in June. So part of me thinks it would be really great if I read The Black Coast in April, the second book, I think The Splintered King, in May, and then perhaps got to the 3rd book, which is called The Godbreaker, in June. I also have technically started Malice, but I was listening to, which is another one of my priority series, but I was listening to the audiobook and it was way too complicated with what I tend to do while listening to audiobooks for that to be a successful audiobook for me. So I'm going to postpone that. I'm not going to keep reading that in this moment. I'm going to wait until I have time to physically read that. I'm thinking about doing that over the summer. So those are all of the priority series books that I'm going to be prioritizing in the next couple months. A couple other obligations that I have in the next couple of months, excluding the read-along, is also my readathon, which is my Assassins in April readathon, which is going to be taking place obviously in April. So I do have a couple books that I'm going to be prioritizing for that, and that is Assassin's Quest, as I've mentioned before. Also Age of Assassins by R.J. Barker. I've been waiting to pick that up for that readathon. So those are the two books that I'm mostly going to be prioritizing, but I also might pick up a couple others over the course of the week, depending on how I'm feeling that week. I am going to be moving the week following, so week following, that week or the week after. So it's going to be a little bit chaotic possibly. And I have my eye on a couple others that were recommended in the recommended Assassins video that I did for this readathon that were provided by other people. So definitely Skullsworn by Brian Stavely is on my eye, and that's because there is an audiobook on Scribd, so I could possibly listen to that audiobook over the course of the week if I'm like packing and things like that, like doing stuff around the house, getting ready for the move. I think that that will be a good option. My friend Taylor really loved it, although I have heard that there are very mixed reviews about it. But Taylor and I usually have a pretty good like track record of liking very similar books, so I'm gonna possibly pick up that one. But honestly, there were so many books that were recommended in that video by other people. Like obviously I made some recommendations, but there were so many recommendations that I got for this Assassin's Readathon from people on Discord or comments in the last couple of videos that I made about it that have really caught my eye. So make sure to check that video out. Also read through the comments. People put in additional recommendations after the fact. So like The Way of Shadows by Brent Weeks, The Unspoken Name by A.K. Larkwood, The Rise of the Rangers, that one looked really cool, but it's like a 9-book series and I just can't add that kind of commitment to my life right now. But a bunch of those books looked really good. So definitely there's like a couple that I'm going to be prioritizing, but we'll see what happens. And then my final obligation book in the next couple months is The Golem and the Djinni by Helene Wecker, which I'm going to be doing a buddy read with Kristen from the channel Kristen Craves Books. So we've been sort of planning to do a buddy read for this for a while. We've been saving it for April. I have had this book on hold at Scribd for such a long time. It is about a golem and a Djinni who meet in New York City at like turn of the century, and I think it's about their friendship. I think friendship, not romance, but I'm actually not sure. So looking forward to getting to that one and reading that with her. Maybe I will see if I can find an audiobook for that as well. I think that audiobooks are going to be my life a lot in April and May, sort of like pre and post moving. Now, before I get into the upcoming new releases that are coming out in the next couple months that are on my radar, there are a couple other just general books that if I had the time and space, I would love to pick them up, or it was in the right mood, or if they became available at the library and it fell right in the moment, you know what I mean? And those are Engines of Empire by R.S. Ford. I will read you a little bit of a synopsis on this one. This epic fantasy tells the tales of clashing guilds, magic-fueled machines, intrigue and revolution, and the one family that stands between an empire's salvation or destruction. The nation of Torwin is run on the power of industry, and the industry is run by the guilds. Chief among them are the Hawkspurs, and their responsibility is to keep the gears of the empire turning. It's exactly why matriarch Rosamund Hawkspur sends each of her heirs to the far reaches of the nation. It was the mention of machinery that originally made me turn aside from this book, but I have seen reviews from a lot of people who have very similar reading taste to me who have really enjoyed it, and especially from the character family component. Apparently the different members of the family, I think all like siblings of this matriarch, are in different areas of the world, but they are like tied through family. I don't mind being in separate areas of the world or setting and seeing how everything fits together. So I've heard very good things so far from people who have been reading this, so I have it on hold. I would love to be able to get to this sometime. And then I've also been trying to keep a couple romance books on the back burner for when I'm in the mood for that, been having like prepared books that I'm going to be picking up when that is the time, so that I don't pick up ones that I'm not interested in or that I don't like at all. The first of which here is Hook, Line, and Sinker by Tessa Bailey, which is the companion piece to It Happened One Summer that I read and loved last year. Now this is following the main character from that first book. It's following her sister Hannah and the other guy's best friend Fox. So we do meet those characters both in the first book, and now this is their romance, and it is a friends to lovers, forced proximity kind of thing where Fox is a bit of a player, but he has a really great friendship with Hannah, and Hannah comes back to town and has to stay with Fox for some reason, but she's also getting tips from him to try to hook up with her boss, who she's really into. But of course, the two of them have vibes. Then I also have the Roughest Draft on hold at the library, ready to pick up for whenever that becomes available. This is a new romance following two authors who used to be a writing duo for a very popular series. They split up after their last release, like split up as a writing duo. They were never together romantically before that, and they have to get back together to write a new book. And apparently they really hate each other. Like something went down in the past. They are very angry with each other. Apparently there's like really, really great snark and like serious things that are said to each other in that portion of the book. It definitely gives me beach reads vibes, and definitely I have seen reviews that compare it to that and have said that it's actually A, better, which interesting, and B, that it fits that like not as spicy or steamy or as explicit as perhaps beach read was in those brief scenes, but that it has that same level of like emotional intensity and more of a contemporary romance fiction than like a romance kind of a book. So I'm really looking forward to getting to that one when it becomes available at the library. Okay, now on to the new releases that are coming out in the next couple months. I will let you know if I do have an e-arc of them. I think it's only one. Yeah, I'm not doing so good with my e-arcs. I'll try to do these in order. So on April 26th, there are 3 books that I'm interested in. That is the Discord of Gods, the 5th and final book in the A Chorus of Dragons series. I am so excited for this. I just got an e-arc for it as well, so I'm going to be getting to this very, very soon. Like probably as soon as I finish the couple books that I have going right now. So that one coming up. Can't wait to finish the conclusion to this. I seriously regret not doing a reread, if only just because like I want to be back in that world, and I've been watching the reread that's taking place on the channel Voyage with Words, I believe. Voyage Through Words or Voyage Through Worlds. Sarah, great channel. Check her out. I'm in her Discord. I'm sorry I'm forgetting the specific of the channel name, but they've been doing a read-along of the first 4 books in the series, getting ready for the 5th book, and I didn't read them at the time because I thought I just would remember everything, and I do, but I'm sad that I'm missing out on all of everyone else experiencing this book. So anyway, I'm excited to get to the Discord of the Gods and finish up that series, and that comes out on April 26th. Also on April 26th is Kaiki, and this is a new retelling of a Indian mythology story that features or tells a story from a stepmom who is usually presented in a negative bad guy type of light. So I'm interested in that one. I've been hearing pretty good things. I don't know if that one is as much a priority as some other ones. And also on April 26th, we have Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher, which I know Sarah from the channel Bright and Bookish really liked. I haven't read any T. Kingfisher, but I've been hearing really great things. So I would love to start off with this new release by hers. It sounds like it is a modern fairy tale with a little bit of a grim, sort of dark-esque bent to it in the same way that an original fairy tale would have had. You've probably heard about this one because it has been quite anticipated. I did have it in my anticipated release video for this year, but we follow a princess who her older sister has been married off to a prince from a different land and is being abused and mistreated by him, and she essentially, the character that we follow, realizes that no one is coming to save them, so she has to save her sister herself. I am editing and realized that I somehow forgot to include The Hunger of the Gods by John Gwynne that comes out on April 14th. That should have been the first book, the first new release that I mentioned. So I'm definitely looking forward to getting to that book, but there are so many big chunky fantasy books I'm including in my radar reads. I am very stressed about it already. Then we have on May 3rd, 2 books. So Book of the Night by Holly Black is going to be coming out. I will not be picking this up immediately, but I would like to get to it in the next couple months, like after it comes out. Don't know much about this. I've heard from advanced reviewers, like if you go into it looking for Jude and Carden sort of, but adult, that you will be disappointed. There is a little bit of a romance, but it's not the priority and it's not Jude and Carden. So good to know that going into it in terms of expectations. And this is the one, I think it's like a little bit of like misfit group ragtag, shadow magic, that kind of thing. I did also talk about this in my anticipated release video, so you can check that out if you want more details. And on May 3rd is Emily Henry's Book Lovers, which I have managed to still not hear what the premise is. I wanted to go into this one like with no expectations whatsoever, so I actually haven't looked up the premise for this, but I'm very excited for it. I will hopefully get a copy early on. My strategy as a library reader to get a copy, or to get to like the front of the line, either if you request it from your library, which I can't always have that option, but if you request from your library that they buy that book, you are likely to be given one of the first copies when they do become available. But otherwise, on the release dates, I just keep going to my library app and keep hitting refresh basically all day on release date and the day after if it takes some time for the book to like become available on the library app. And I try to get early on the list or high on the list doing that. So we'll see how that goes. And then finally, the last upcoming new release on May 17th is Guy Gavriel Kay's All the Seas of the Worlds. I will be pre-ordering this. The only reason that I haven't pre-ordered it yet is because I'm moving and I was nervous to, like, I didn't know what my new address was going to be. So now I do have it. I will probably pre-order it in the next couple days. Now, this book is set in his historical fantasy world that a lot of the books are in and connected to, but more specifically, it is set in the same location as his last two novels, which is a little bit unusual for him. And those two books were The Children of Earth and Sky and A Brightness Long Ago. A Brightness Long Ago was a prequel to The Children of Earth and Sky, and I'm not sure where All the Seas of the World fits into this chronologically. I will read the synopsis for this one because you know that I'm always repping my GGK. So, returning triumphantly to the brilliantly evoked near-Renaissance world of A Brightness Long Ago and Children of Earth and Sky, international best-selling author Guy Gavriel Kay and Canadian author Guy Gavriel Kay deploys his signature quarter turn to the fantastic to tell a story of vengeance, power, and love. On a dark night along a lonely stretch of coast, a small ship sends two people ashore. Their purpose is assassination. They have been hired by the two of the most dangerous men alive to alter the balance of power in the world. One of those arriving at the beach is a woman abducted by corsairs as a child and sold into years of servitude. That is a similar storyline to one of the stories in Children of Earth and Sky. Having escaped, she is trying to chart her own course and is bent upon revenge. Another is a seafaring merchant who still remembers being exiled as a child with his family from their home for their faith, a moment that never leaves him. All the Seas of the World is a page-turning drama that also offers moving reflections on memory, fate, and the random events that can shape our lives in the past and today. Definitely thematically, this sounds a lot like a Guy Gavriel Kay book. As I mentioned, some of it sounds familiar to other books in this specific area and world. However, I don't normally see his books described as being page-turning. He tends to write up at a bit of a slower pace, so I am very tentatively nervous, but also excited about this one. I am hoping to get a copy of the US cover because I think that I like it better than the UK cover, but that was the same with A Brightness Long Ago, and I actually have the UK cover for A Brightness Long Ago, and that was because my book club read it, and one of the people really didn't like it, so she just gave me her copy. Okay, that is it. Those are all of the books currently on my radar that I will hopefully be getting to, or at least choosing from, in the next couple months. Probably thinking like April, May, June here in terms of time frame for these books. I have been doing pretty good on my radar reads from that I did in January, where I have actually read most of the books that I included on that list. Not all of them, but most of them. And maybe I will include that statistic there in terms of like how many books were from that and how many weren't in my Q1 stats wrap up. Just a couple important reminders, channel-wise, check out our live show for the Tropic of Serpents on April 6th, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on this channel live that night, or you can catch the replay the day after. And also, if you're interested in reading about some morally gray, highly trained characters like assassins, you should check out my Assassins in April Readathon. Everything will be linked down below for that. Okay, I'll see you guys next time. Have a great day. Bye.